Hi everybody. My name is Bill Findlay, and I've been involved with the Canadian Museum of Flight here in Langley for about the last 20 years. And I'm very lucky in that I get to fly a number of the flying aircraft that we have here at our wonderful little museum. My aviation background goes back to when I was just a teenager, flying with my dad, who had his private pilot's license up in Penticton. I graduated out of high school in Penticton and ended up in the Royal Canadian Air Force as a pilot. After the military, I got out and went with the airlines, flying with CP Air, Ward Air, Canadian Airlines, and eventually Air Canada at the end, after all the amalgamations took place over that time period. This aircraft that I'm standing beside today is an absolutely magnificent 1937 Waco Cabin. This aircraft would have been flown by various companies back in the 30s and early 40s, and would have been basically the Learjet of that time, in that executives would have flown for their companies in this airplane, a business machine. And there would have been a few of them that were owned by private owners as well. But it's an absolutely magnificent machine. This particular aircraft is on wheels right now, and it used to be flown by a doctor whose name is Jack Pickup. Great name. So Dr. Jack Pickup, who flew this aircraft out of Alert Bay, would have flown it up and down the coast, in and out of the various logging, fishing, mining, indigenous villages up and down the coast, and brought sick and injured people back to what was a fairly substantial hospital in Alert Bay back in the 50s, 60s, and maybe just into the early 70s. So this aircraft really was flown by BC's Flying Doctor. And then from 82 until 2002, this aircraft underwent a very major restoration right here at the Canadian Museum of Flight. They flew it again for the first time since that 1980 donation to the museum. Flew it for the first time in 2002 as this brand new looking, and in fact, for the most part, was almost a brand new airplane. Got a wonderful radial engine in it that has 330 horsepower. It's a Jacobs radial. I always tell people, for me flying this airplane, and I'm lucky enough to get to fly it, for people flying this airplane, it's just like driving a 57 Cadillac down the freeway. It's a beautiful, big old airplane. As I say, 4 pilot plus 3 passengers, so it's a 4-place aircraft, and travels at about 140 miles an hour, 150 miles an hour, something like that when it's cruising. And it's got big fuel tanks in it on the upper wings, so that gravity can feed the fuel into the engines, and it'll go for 3 or 4 hours on the fuel that's held in those tanks. Okay. Again, here we are sitting inside the cabin. I'll just pull the control column back a bit here to have a look at some of the switches and knobs and dials that we've got in here. I've got engine instruments over in this area here, an airspeed indicator, an altimeter up in this area, artificial horizons, electrical systems, and some switching to control various lighting and ignition switching in the aircraft, magnetos. This is basically my gas pedal right here. This is the throttle, as we call it, and this is mixture for controlling the air-fuel mixture ratio, and this is the pitch controller for the angle of the propeller blades. As they vary according to takeoff and cruise, you can vary the pitch on those blades for better performance and fuel efficiency. And on the floor, I've got braking, heel brakes with toe pedals that operate the rudders. if there's another pilot sitting in the right-hand seat here that wants to fly the airplane, he doesn't have a control wheel in front of him. However, we can give him control. We can just pull a knob out here, pass the wheel over to him, and now that person, him or her, that person is flying the aircraft. The wonderful windows in this airplane, just nice roll up and down windows. That's where I was referring to that 57 Caddy. It's just pretty much like that. It's difficult to see out the aircraft when you're taxiing on the ground. As you can see here, there's a lot of engine and a lot of nose in front of the airplane, so you go down the taxiway making as kind of an S-turn motion, looking out each side of the aircraft along the side of the engine cowling to see that there's nobody in front of you, because of course you wouldn't want to hit anybody with that propeller, so or anything with that propeller. So when you're taking off down the runway, you stay to the center of the runway, and the tail comes up first before the airplane goes flying, and that much improves the visibility out the forward-looking windows here. When the tail comes up, you can now see the runway straight ahead instead of just off to the side, and then you continue to keep it straight down the runway and pull the control wheel back, and away you go off flying.